Hey, welcome back for another episode from On Down the Road Productions. Terry here, and we are changing the oil DIY ourselves on our 2020 Rocket 3 GT. So let's get into this. Gents, welcome back. This episode we are doing a DIY oil change on our 2020 Rocket 3 GT, and this will work for the Rocket R2, so let's get going.
12 seconds later.
Well, this is kind of neat to be able to do this in my garage and not pay a dealer to do it and spend even more money. So there is one pre-step that we need to address, and that's really to start the bike and let the engine oil warm up just a bit, not blazing hot. And that's in the Triumph Rocket 3 GT and Triumph Rocket R owner manuals. So let's do that right now. Okay, it's telling me the coolant temperature is okay, and there's our coolant bars. I'll just let it run a couple minutes and then shut it off. I'm not going to sit here for like 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, you can see right here we're all just about 3 bars. That's enough for me. I think the oil's warm enough. We're using Motul 15W50 oil for this change. This is what the Detroit Triumph provided to me. And of course you can see the Triumph oil filter. And there's also 3 washers. There are 3 8mm drain plugs on the bottom of the motor. And I'll get a better shot of those. The first step here is to take those 3 drain plugs out and let it drain into our oil catch pan there, which will fill up and then drop at some recycle center. So let's go do step 1. I have a top tip here. Every Triumph dealer has a scheduled maintenance checklist right here. Ask for a copy of this. It's very valuable to have. So sharing this as a tip, Detroit Triumph gave this to me today, and try to get one yourself for your Rocket. Okay, under the watchful eye of Piper, who is always on duty in the garage with me, here are the 3 oil drain 8mm oil plugs that need to come out. This one here, and this one here. When you look at that diagram, make sure you orient the diagram to this shape, and you'll see 1, 2, 3, and Piper, thank you. We love you here at the channel. Yep. Okay, so let's get these off. So here I've got this Cobalt Allen wrench tool, and here's your 8mm Allen wrench right here. I'm going to use this, and we have a fit. And the dealer told me to turn to the left. Try it this way. Watch this be a chore to get off. And I'm going to do all 3. Oh boy, that was easy. Another top tip here is when you loosen these for the first time, take a mental note with your hand how tight these were, because there's a required Newton meter specification to tighten them. Don't over torque these when you put them back on. One other top tip is I have 2 old rags here. I don't doubt for a minute that I'm just kind of readjusting this oil pan. And you want to make sure that your oil plug does not fall down here in that hole. Here we go. Oh, there's the first one. And that's the first one. I'll stop here and then I'll film the other 2 coming out. Okay, here you can see the flipping around the brand new Triumph oil filter that will go in. And that goes in behind here, so we'll have to take this shroud off here. Not hard to do when we get to that after draining the engine oil.
Meanwhile.
Okay, this oil drain plug and the other ones will need a ratchet wrench, and I went to Lowe's and bought an 8mm socket adapter to do that. So I'll get these out now. It took a little motivation there. So let me do this and screw this one out. Get ready for more oil, people. Almost there. There it goes. And I'll let that one drain out. And there we go. Move my hand back. Okay, and you can see that washer. I have a replacement washer. This just dropped on its own. This washer is getting replaced, as on the other two as well. So there's actually 3 of these 8mm oil drain plugs to release. Looking at the underside of the motorcycle versus looking at that diagram, you got to be careful. I'm in good shape. All right, here's the next one that I'm loosening. Again, 8mm. The other one over there is dripping out. I'll loosen the second one now. Here are the 3 washer rings that are needed for the oil change. This is the first 8mm oil drain plug that came out, so I'm just going to do this. All right, so this one's good to go. When I screw it back in, 2 more of these to do here, 1, 2, when they're ready. All right, here's a good view of that oil dripping just from the first oil lug nut, so got to be patient. Here's another view of the second oil plug draining. You can see right there. I'm going to work on loosening the third plug now. Okay, right here was the hardest one to do. And I got it with this right here, and I was worried that inside here it was stripped. So I'm going to investigate buying a new oil plug to replace this one. It is an 8mm Allen wrench fit. This one was the toughest one to do of the 3. The second one's still dripping, so let me just pull this back here. I'm going to screw this out right now. So once you loosen these 3, they're tough to loosen, but after you do that with an Allen wrench, they twist out by hand real easy. Let's see what happens here. Well, there you go. Bingo. All 3 oil plugs are draining. The next thing I'm going to want to do is walk around to the bike, get on it, hold it level to get the last of the oil out. Here's the third oil drain plug I took out. I looked at it. It's not stripped in there, but that 8mm Allen wrench didn't snug in like it did on the other 2. So I will buy some more of these, or at least 1 more of these, for the next oil change and replace this one completely. But I still think it's usable, and like the other 2 here, I've got the washer on, new washer on. There are all 3 oil drain plugs with new washers waiting to be reinstalled when the oil drains. What I have going on here are the 3 oil lug nuts removed, and the bike's just dripping dry, so I'll be back in a moment. New oil filter, 3 new washers down there. After that oil's gone, I'll screw those back in, and our next step will be to take off the radiator shroud and take off that old oil filter and put the new one on. So we'll be back for that. There's a good look at the radiator shroud we will remove to access the oil filter and put the new one on. It pops off, and then you pivot it away, get the old oil filter off, and put the new one on. Okay, this appears to be a 6mm. Pretty easy. They just screw off. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna do it by hand. Gonna do it by hand now. You can see the dirt from me riding this. Okay. Alright, they're both off. I'll set them right there. And let's just see. Oh, it pops right off. Okay. Maybe I'll clean that. Okay, here's a catch. We took these 2 off first, but you also need to take these 2 off and pivot this forward. And then you have full access to the oil filter now. And so I'll move the oil drain pan underneath here and get the oil filter off and let that drain. But very quickly, the owner's manual says to remove these 2, and they kind of show a diagram, but they're not showing you removing these 2 bolts, but they tell you to remove these 2 and pivot this forward, but you can't pivot this forward without removing these 2 bolts, and they're identical bolts right here. They're the exact same bolts, and I just want to take a moment to tell you guys some catches in the owner's manual. This is the first one. You need to remove 4 bolts, not 2, to allow the pivoting of this to get to the oil filter when changing your oil. The other thing is that the owner's manual only tells you to fill the bike up with new oil between the 2 marks on the dipstick. The Triumph Rocket 3 GT holds 4.6 liters of oil. Confirmed it with the dealer.
and that converts to, I believe, 4.87 quarts or 4.86 quarts of oil. So I'll have to do some measuring after the first 4 quarts. No big deal. And let's loosen this oil filter now, which is right here. Also take note that I had to pull this tube back to get better access to the oil filter. Okay, now let me do this too, because I don't want a catastrophe of oil everywhere. Okay, I put my GoPro on a tripod. Okay, got my GoPro on a tripod, and you can see the oil filter's already starting to do its thing here. So another catch is that the owner's manual wants you to fill the oil filter with new oil, put oil around the seal, but as you can tell, the oil filter is left to right and all that new oil will come spilling out. So I checked with the dealer on that and they said fill it halfway and do it really quick. Fill it halfway and do it really quick when you screw it back on. So this is the same process again, where I'll let this pop off and then I will wait for it to completely drain. Right, let me do this, and I'll do it by hand now. Ah, there it goes. Beautiful. And it's draining away. So this filter came off pretty quick. Just leave it there for now. And the process of waiting for that will take a bit, and I will be back.
A sheer coincidence.
3 owner's manual catches. One I just said. Only fill the oil filter when you put it back on the bike, the new one, about halfway before you put it back on, and do it quickly because it's going to spill if it's full, obviously, if you look at this. The other ones here are, there's actually 4 bolts to remove when you lift up this shroud, twist it out of the way, not 2 as written in the owner's manual. And the other one is that the owner's manual does not tell you the Triumph Rocket 3 GT holds 4.6 liters of oil. It should give exact amounts. Other manufacturers do, so that's a nit on Triumph. Those are some catches for you guys on the owner's manual. I'm sure there's other gaps in the owner's manual. If you find them, share them in comments for this video. Here's another view of the removed oil filter, and of course it's stripping out what's left of the oil. Okay, that's looking pretty clear of oil. And we are now going to attach the new oil filter. Here we go. I'm going to screw this on fast. All right. Like I said, I filled it up just about halfway. Gonna get this hand tight. And give it just one quick one here. Too tight here. I have it hand tightened, and now I'm just gonna, whoop, I'm going the wrong way there. Try this again. All right, here we go. I have this hand tightened, and now we're just gonna snug it a little bit. Okay, I have this hand tightened, and now we're just gonna snug it a little bit. That'll do it. That oil filter is on, people. Now to bring this shroud down, we have to do this. This is around here and through there, like that. Okay. Bring the shroud down. There is that one. Here is this one. It took a little bit of finesse to get it to come down again. And like I said, I believe these are 6mm. They weren't on very tight in the first place. Get this out of the way. Tight enough. You do want them tight, a little bit tight because of motorcycle vibrations. I'll get this one more time just to make sure it's snug. Again, thinking about road vibrations. Okay, that's good. Get this back on. Popped on just like that. Really not that hard to do. Popped on real quick, very, very easily. I thought about cleaning this, but since it's so close to the front of the bike, no one's gonna see the dirt underneath it and it'll just get dirty again. We'll take this moto camping again, you know. Whoops, dropped that one. Let me get this one in. Just doing it by hand. So, like I said, why pay the dealer to change the oil on your bike? And maybe that manual from Triumph is written that way so people do take their bikes to the dealer. But I think something like an oil change, that one's tight. So what you don't want to have happen is these to come out when you're riding if you don't tighten them. They weren't on overly tight in the first place. There you go. Just show everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, all back on and tightened. And now we're ready to put oil in the bike. Wipe this down. All the oil's out of the bike, obviously, guys. Move that. This will go to an oil. This thing is full. This will go to probably an oil quick change place to be poured out. All right, and I'm confident all the old oil is out. It was dirty. It did need to be replaced. Here's the old oil filter, which goes in the new oil filters box and off to the garbage. To pour the oil in the bike, we take the oil cap off here and remove the dipstick. Okay, there you go with that. And what I have here is a funnel. Oh boy. Let's see what I got. See if I can get a different funnel. Hey guys, the funnels I have aren't working really well. Go figure. So I'm gonna hit the hardware store and get a funnel with a longer neck on it and be right back. And then we will add oil to the bike, clean fresh oil, using the quarts, liters, and ounces measurements I've shared with you. Be right back. Okay, so for about $5 US, a trip to the hardware store, Lowe's, and this funnel will do the trick now. And I can pour some oil in it. Pour some oil on me, or in me. All right, here we go. All right, gonna check this. Go all the way down. Pull it back out. Oh wow, I might need to add some. Hold on. Well, adding oil to the Rocket 3 GT, huh? Here's a view for you all. Okay, and we are between the lines now. Here are summary tips and best practices for changing your oil on a Rocket 3R or Rocket 3 GT. You would want a long neck funnel to pour the oil in when you get to that point. There's 4, not 2, bolts to move the radiator shroud up for access to the oil filter. And the bike holds officially, per the dealer, 4.6 liters of oil, which is 4.86 quarts US. So more to the point though, Triumph could do a better job of not just telling an owner in the owner's manual what type of oil to get, but exactly how much the crankcase holds, etc., etc. That's not in the owner's manual. I had to call the dealer and re-verify it. So they make it harder for you to save money and change your own oil, right? Or do it yourself. A lot of guys I know work on their own bikes. I do it sometimes. And that owner's manual should have more detail. The Honda Goldwing, for example, has that type of detail on it. What's the harm, Triumph? Why you got to do it like that? Okay, guys. Like I said, for this episode, here is a Rocket 3 GT with a completed oil change. Looking better than ever. Running like brand new. Okay, let's start this up. See what we get here. Okay, people. Hasn't run? Okay, here we go.
Fired right up. You know, it does feel like it's running smoother. Well, I think our job is done here, and you know, besides changing my oil for the first time on our Down the Road Productions Rocket 3 GT for the very first time, like I said, I just wanted to share with everybody that I'm just a normal guy. I don't pretend to be a fake expert or a YouTube certified mechanic, and I did loosen one wrong bolt below the bike, but it was no big deal. But I did get the oil changed, and did the math for you guys too. So it's pretty straightforward changing the oil on a Rocket 3R or Rocket 3 GT. If you own one, I suggest you do it yourself to save money. And I do believe there's probably better oil out there than Motul. Next time, like I said, it'll be an AMSOIL oil change. And the bike's running smoother. It's got fresh oil in it. Thank you for watching. We appreciate all you guys. Whether you just drop in and check out a video, subscribe, like, or share, I want to let you know that I and we appreciate you here. Until next episode, we'll see everybody, and take care of yourself.